Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Reed. Hall should be here any second, but the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. It's a beautiful Sunday here in the DMV. We're about to watch these playoff games with the Ravens going against the Chiefs here at 3 o'clock. But before we do that, let's talk about more important teams, as in the Commanders. And the title of this episode is called The Business. So we thought we'd bring in our boy Matt Valdovinos from Twitter on here to be able to talk about the state of the Commanders and looking ahead. So Matt, thank you for blessing us on this Sunday, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Always good to talk ball. Love talking the Commanders and DC football. I mean, it's really tough. I'm not a Washington sports fan. I'm just a Commanders fan. So, like, I'm a Grizzlies fan outside of this, a big Memphis Grizzlies fan. That has been terrible since Ja blew out his shoulder. And the first 25 games he was suspended, right? So I've really just had nothing to do but watch like draft guys and just run thousands and thousands of mock drafts a day and just think about what free agents they might sign and what Ben Johnson would do with what quarterback or any other head coach should that not be the case.
Right, you're right. And it's funny when I hear people say that they claim that they're mock draft experts, they're good at it, and like that's really good for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
But Matt, it's just fun to do it, right? But
yeah, I do it
especially in January.
Yeah,
they're really good at mock drafts in January.
Exactly. I'm drafting first round prospects in the fourth round.
Right. Exactly.
Like
doing 17 trades in the first 2 rounds each. They're like, this is what's gonna happen. This is the best case scenario.
Yeah, it's just
hell
fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's just
I
fun
love it, dude. I do 17 a day, Kyle.
yes. If I'm
17
bored,
a day.
I'm in the bathroom, like I have nothing to do, right? I'm waiting in line, like, oh, PFN mock draft simulator. Sometimes I'll switch it up too. I literally have to rotate through the sims.
I'll do PFF once a day because that's all I'm allowed because I refuse to pay for that shit.
Yeah, see, I'm not paying for
PFF.
PFF.
Pissing me off. I'm just kidding. I love Nick Eckert.
I don't pay. I love the dudes. I love Trevor Sycamore who does that. Right, who's like in charge of all of that. Love those dudes. I don't have the funding to pay for Pro Football Focus when I have enough friends who do pay for Pro Football Focus who can kind of just run me the information that I need.
That's exactly how I base my Twitter experience, Matt. That's why I don't usually pay for all that jazz. But that being said, you coach high school football, probably majority going to be on the offensive line, defensive line, in the trenches. But before we get into that and the nitty-gritty of the real football team aspect of this, we talked about the mock drafts. Sitting at number 2 for Washington, Sam Howell is here. And like people say, you got to build up the offensive line. You should run it back with Sam. What's your thought process for that number 2 overall pick? Do you feel like we should be targeting the quarterback there, and who?
Yeah, I think it's tough because the Sam Howell it's not tough. I do think they need to go quarterback at 2. Let me just put that out there. To me, that is the answer, right? You only get so many opportunities to draft a quarterback of the caliber you get with the 2nd overall pick, right? And we've seen Washington spend it on a quarterback, and people love to point at that and be like, oh, well, it didn't work out with RG3, but they made the playoffs in 1 year, right? The team wasn't good beforehand. And, an injury causes everything to go to hell and personality issues or whatever. But you see the instant impact, and then they don't use it on a quarterback when we get Chase Young, right? They make the playoffs that way too. It's literally the exact same argument that people love to use against the other ones and how they didn't work out. But I think when you're here, you need to just take the shot on the dude who's going to change your franchise. You're going to find, the other positions. People want tackles, people want defensive ends, corners. You can find those throughout the draft and also throughout every draft. Quarterback, it's not the same. You see like Sam Howell's class where Kenny Pickett's the only first-round quarterback, and Sam Howell might be the best quarterback from that class. That's how suspect the quarterback trajectory can be. This year's loaded, so I do think it provides a little bit of a difference. I think the NFL is going to be really, really high on guys like Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. So I think that kind of puts a little wrinkle when you think there might be 5 first-round quarterbacks as opposed to only 3. But yeah, at the end of the day, when you have a chance at an elite guy who's going to completely change your franchise, I think you kind of just have to go for it.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. It's like, how often do you pick number 2? I mean, we can name 2 in the last, 10, 12 years, and neither one of them panned out, but you gotta swing away, like they say in Signs, like they say to my boy Joaquin Phoenix in the hit movie Signs. Swing away, just swing away, kill those aliens, dude. Save the world. That's what we're doing. We're trying to save the world. How do you have the quarterback shaping out? I know that a lot of people have been kind of all over the place on Drake May, it seems, but he was kind of the consensus number 2 for a while. Obviously, Jaden Daniels after that season, he's rising up. He's expected to rise a little bit more during the pre-draft process. How would you rank them currently, and why is Drake May number 2?
So I'm very glad you asked this question. I've talked a lot about this on Twitter. I do not care who they take when they take one of the top 3 quarterbacks.
Kyle went
right?
straight May because he's white. I was like, Kyle, what the hell?
It's not true, Matt.
Listen. That's probably better evaluation than oh, he's UNC, he's just tall Sam Howell.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Don't scout helmets, scout skin color. That's what I always say.
But with the quarterbacks, like I think all 3 are fantastic. All 3 theoretically in some classes could be first overall picks. So I have no problem in what direction they go. I think most people need to understand that's going to be a decision built on what the offense is intended to do and what the head coach thinks is the best thing to do. So it's not I want this quarterback or I want this quarterback. To me, like Caleb Williams is the guy, right? He's the best quarterback in the class. The Bears are going to take him at 1. They're not going to move out. They're going to move Justin Fields. They're going to take Caleb Williams at 1, right? If that would be like top 5 biggest draft surprises in the last decade, 20 years, if they don't do that.
Right. And so even if they were to trade out, it would be to somebody to take Caleb Williams. Like Caleb Williams is going number 1.
Yeah, and I think even then, like it's just not like that's the 0.1% chance of them. Yeah. I think it's Chicago making that pick, taking Caleb Williams.
If they don't, they need to be drug tested.
Well, I mean, should they not want to? If like, let's say they just love Justin Fields and the fans really swayed them, I think that's where Adam Peters, hey Ryan, what's going on? Like, let's make a move. You can still get Marvin Harrison Jr.
You can nudge
trade
Ian
back
Cunningham.
again.
You just interviewed him a couple times.
That's
Ian, hey.
Hopefully he's not mad. True. But I think Caleb's the guy, the special guy who shit breaks down. I'm still gonna just go win the game, right? The Josh Allen, the Patrick Mahomes, just the off script. And I think with Drake May and Jaden Daniels, it's kind of like a tale of 2 prospects, and that's why the fan base is so divided on it. And the biggest thing is you can prefer one guy and still think the other guy's pretty good. Still think the other guy's really good. I
love vanilla. I still love chocolate.
That's what I'm saying. And Neapolitan, that's crazy. So like it's just
using my ice cream references and everything. Okay.
Yeah, but I related it to race, Kyle.
I didn't even think about that. We rounded all the way back.
Yeah.
But with the 2 quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Drake May, you see a lot of just BS narrative pushing on both of them that is false, right? Drake May's tape is bad. He's only getting drafted because he looks like Josh Allen. Like, no, you've obviously never watched Drake May's tape, right? And Mark Bullock did a great job of putting it together and saying like, hey, like there are some incredible throws and there are some easy misses. Yeah, I completely agree. But if you watch Jaden Daniels' tape, people will be like, oh, well, Drake May, didn't produce like Jaden Daniels did this year. Jaden Daniels is throwing to 2 top 20 picks at wide receiver and probably an entire NFL offensive line, right? Like
Jaden has his accuracy issues
in
the medium and short range too.
He also has the best deep ball I've ever seen.
And he's like
he drops dimes out there.
Some of Drake's throws on covered receivers are really insane.
Yeah.
Like I think to potential gym teachers, right? So like there's Tez Walker from USC this year who's been really, really good, but even he, like people have pushed this like potential first round narrative. I don't see that at all. This is a dude who's like a Kent State product who transfers to UNC because of the COVID year, isn't going to play at Kent State, and then all of a sudden plays with Drake May the year after and explodes, right? So who is that? Who do you attribute that to? Probably the quarterback.
I got you. Hall, I know you want to ask your question really bad, but I just to elaborate on Reed's question about going quarterback in the round 1. Do you think Washington has enough weapons to feel confident with a quarterback being selected in that top of the first round?
100%. I mean, you look at the Panthers and the Texans just took quarterbacks back to back and what their receiving cores look like, and then you see how those quarterback performs, and then the perception of those receiving cores after, right? No one sat here and was like, oh, the Texans have a really, really good receiving unit that's deep from 1 to 5. Like maybe they don't have a superstar, but they have some really, really good players in Tank Dell and Bobby Trees, and Nico Collins. And so I just think, no one was saying that going into the year. They weren't. And I think you'll find a number of people who just view Terry McLaurin better than any of those people, who going into the year saw Jahan Dotson on a higher scale than most of them. And so I think, and then you look at Carolina where people were, there was Adam Thielen, the vanilla wide receiver.
You couldn't drop him in NFL leagues for like the first 8 weeks. It was crazy.
Yeah. So it's all perception. These guys will play better in a better offensive system, but I think you have wide receivers. You have a top 16 wide receiver core, right? The top half of the NFL wide receiver core to me. Tight ends are suspect, I suppose, but so is Detroit's Sam Laporta going in, right? It's a second-round rookie tight end. You don't necessarily expect that to be the most productive tight end of all time as a rookie. And then I think Brian Robinson, in someone that not on Eric Bieniemy's team, was probably like a really, really productive running back this past year. I think if he wasn't getting 12 carries a game, if they weren't throwing the ball 50 times a game, if he was getting 20, 25, I think we see him as like a 1,200-yard rusher this year. I thought he was really, really good. Yeah. I thought he improved as a receiver too, understanding how to function when the quarterback gets out of the backfield. You saw that twice against the Patriots, right? Like there's just a lot of talent that I think was kind of just thrown away. Like Sam loved throwing to just the middle of the field, to the tight end or to the middle players, the running backs, the tight ends. And I think the wide receivers just weren't valued like they were supposed to be.
It's crazy, man, because when you think about it, we threw more than anybody, but we still weren't like throwing to our wide receivers a heck of a whole lot.
To the playmakers. And that's why we sucked.
Yeah, to your point. And also, I just want to say, Brian Robinson, on top of all that, is probably the best pass blocking back that we have on the team. And so having that behemoth of a human defending the quarterback's blind side in those sort of situations with a bad O-line, you would feel more comfortable there. Sorry, Hall.
Yes, defending his maiden's honor.
Yeah, so like you talked about, we're probably going quarterback at number 2 with the second overall pick. But this team definitely needs to, obviously, they need to rebuild the offensive line outside of Sam Cosmi. I think there's maybe Charles Leno, who knows. But outside of Sam Cosmi, you're probably looking at a whole new line and upcoming next year, or for the most part, a whole new line. Who are some tackles that you're looking at that this team might be in range to draft, maybe like in that second pick or towards the back end of the first round?
So we appreciate we had talked about Troy Fountain now. I don't think he's going to get to the second round. Like just gut instinct. I also don't think the NFL wants him to play tackle because of some length things. Yeah. But I think he's so good. I think the feet are just so smooth. The mirroring skills are fantastic. Like that's just a dude who can play football.
When you say the length issues, do you think it has to do with the hand control aspect of it?
No, I really just think he's just not super long. I think he just has a standard arm length. So I think he's 6'4" with 6'4" arms. Nowadays the NFL wants 6'4" with 6'6" arms. That's the thing is like I really think he has the feet to play tackle in the NFL. And he reminds me a lot of another Pac-12 guy who came out a couple years ago, Elijah Vera Tucker, who the Jets moved to guard, played well, but then they had tackle injuries. He had to play tackle, played well, tackles got healthy again, moved to guard. Literally had the Sam Cosmi issue, but just better. Or kind of inverse, to be honest, because now he's just going to be their full-time starting right tackle. That sounds like the expectation coming out of New York. So I just don't I think with guys like that, it's really kind of a crapshoot. A lot of times they're just specifically it's a crapshoot in how the NFL is gonna view them, right? Those 6'4", not super long guys, like the NFL is always just gonna be like, he doesn't have 6'6" arms, probably a guard, and it just is what it is. And so I think I evaluated him as an interior offensive lineman this year, even though I really, really like him at tackle, just because I think that's how the NFL is going to draft him, and that's how I have to kind of make my board. And so I think he's going to go up there. I think Grant Barton, Jackson Power Johnson's like those guys are right there on the fringe, late first, early second. So the tackles that I'm looking for in the second, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, not 100% sure if he's going to get there either, but I think he's of the like second tier tackles, he's the guy who I feel far and away the most comfortable. Just go play football for me, go play left tackle for me.
Yeah. Who's that kid from Yale that's been rising up draft boards lately?
I am not going to say his
I don't know how to
name.
pronounce his name.
I'm not going to say it. Yeah. So, feel free, anyone listening, to go ahead and take this time to look up Yale offensive tackle and then read it for yourself. Yeah, he's a guy who's going to be at the Senior Bowl, I believe.
I'll have to look it up now.
Is that the Kieran Abagajabi guy?
Whatever you just said, Kyle, God bless you.
I think Ian said something to us last
Yeah,
week.
Ian loves him. That's what I was going to say. Ian loves him. I love Ian, just so everyone knows that's my boy. But he loves him. Good movement skills, great length, and pretty nasty. I think he has like guard experience earlier in his career. Just a dude who it's just really hard to evaluate those Ivy League guys. Yeah. Like anyone who ever comes out of Villanova, because we talk about like, oh, this dude's gonna be a gym teacher. I'd probably rather have a gym teacher on my team than some dude who's gonna be like a lawyer or something, right?
Right.
Like,
I don't want a bunch of Myron Rolls.
Yeah, exactly. Like what
is smart as hell.
People like myself who are ignorant and stupid were making jokes about Josh Dobbs being a rocket scientist, and Lord, come to find out he's still in the NFL playing well, doing stuff. So.
I think quarterback intelligence is huge, but I think some of the other ones, like you really just.
Oh my god! A lot of it's dumb as shit. I want them to just go out there and hit and be.
That's what I'm saying.
Legally,
I need you to know two things: run block, pass block. Let's get in there.
And speaking of that, the big lumberjack kind of idiots like myself in my line of work, Matt. To finish this up, I only have a couple more questions for you. Yeah. But before we started working, we were having a peer kind of discussion in regards to the top 3 tackles in this draft class. Lord knows, like we could. Let's just say Adam Peters decided to go the Brock Purdy route and go find talent at quarterback there, and they go offensive line there. Give us your rankings for tackle. Would you be taking Joe Alt? Would you be going Olu? Or would you be going Talise Fuaga? What are you feeling?
This is tough because kind of like quarterback, this is head coach dependent.
Right.
Operating under, this is kind of crazy because I have Olu, my rankings are Olu, Alt, Fuaga. And it's a slight little space between Alt and Fuaga. Olu and Alt are like right there with me, just because I understand the appeal of both. I think with Ben Johnson, you're looking at Joe Alt. Or if you move further back, Fuaga, I don't think that he would be as in on Olu, just because Olu's the premier pass protector.
Let me put the caveat in there. I don't mean at number 2. Just your...
Mine? Okay, so it's Olu 1, just because I think kind of in that Trent Williams frame where the athletic ability and the movement skills eventually just kind of transcend all of the other stuff that offensive linemen are asked to do. If you can just put yourself on an island, doesn't matter who's lining up in front of you, and for 80 snaps today, my left tackle is just going to shut that down. You feel fantastic. You now have 4 offensive linemen to block an entire part of a defense. It really changes the entire landscape of what you can do offensively from a pass protection scheme. Makes 5-man protection much easier. It's really hard to call 5-man protection when you're anchoring on Charles Leno, right? I think Charles Leno's super hated on by the fan base because he's put in a position where he's expected to play like Trent Williams. He's not Trent Williams. Like, I think you can succeed with Charles Leno if you're asking him to play in a role that Charles Leno can do. Same thing with Andrew Wiley. Sam Cosmi, I think, like we talked about, kind of transcends that. He's the best offensive lineman on the team, and I think he's just literally like an all-pro level guard. I thought he was fantastic this year, especially in the second half. I think next year we'll really see that transition. I like Ricky Stromberg, and I liked him at Arkansas. I think he has a chance to compete for center next year. But back to the tackles. Yeah, Olu 1, Joe Alt 2 right behind him. I think Alt is pretty close to what he's already going to be. Really, really good run blocker, really, really good pass blocker, flawless technique, pretty much the built offensive tackle. I just personally have a thing against super, super tall offensive tackles. I think you sacrifice some leverage. And that comes in the NFL when you line up in front of Khalil Mack or Nick Bosa. And so I just think the movement skills for me, especially for Olu, especially just a little bit shorter. Now, he has shown issues with his anchor that Joe Alt hasn't. So it is built on projection, but those are my 2. Talise Fuaga, number 3, all top 10 prospects, all fantastic. Fuaga, obviously, a right tackle. And then I think it's J.C. Latham and Amarius Mims follow up around out my top 5.
I got you.
It's kind of interesting because you talked about being okay with the 2 tackles. I did a mock draft earlier today. I know we're talking about doing all these mocks. And what I did, I took Graham Barton to plug him in at left guard with the first second round pick. Then with the 60 whatever pick, I took Zach Frazier. So that right there, I mean, if you think about those two pan out, all of a sudden you have a center and left guard, you have the right guard, and then you have two solid tackles. That right there could kind of fix the O-line a little bit. I mean, 100%. It should be better if they.
Yeah, and you can definitely run the ball behind that line.
Adam Peters, hire me.
Now to wrap this up, Matt, I only have a couple more questions for you. Now this episode being called The Business, we got to get down to the nitty gritty here. Kam Curl, Kendall Fuller. What goes on with those two?
I almost wore my Kam Curl jersey today as a support. It's not a Commanders jersey. It's a Washington football team jersey, and I was like, I don't want people to think I'm. But it's tough. I think Quan Martin's emergence really makes things a little bit awkward. And Adam Peters is going to have an interesting thing. I really want to re-sign Kendall Fuller. To me, that just makes sense because he's far and away the best cornerback on the team. I don't think Benjamin St. Juste is very good. I don't think Manuel Forbes is very good. I think Kendall Fuller is like a plus cornerback. I think he's going to be one of the top 3 to 5 paid corners of free agency this year, probably, but on the like 5 end because he's an older cornerback. He's not L'Jarius Sneed's age. He's not Jalen Johnson's age.
Right.
Kam Curl's harder just because Spot Track has him at like projected $15 million a year, which is crazy to me, especially because Cam didn't produce a ton of turnovers. I think if you're getting him in that 10 to 12 range, you're just getting a fantastic safety at a good price tag, right? And I think it's just always good to sign good football players at good deals.
My man, that'd be good to hear. Hopefully it would be like a hometown discount in that sort of sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Like Cam wants to be wanted, and obviously Washington, my whole argument to the counter of not bringing back Cam is, yeah, you're kind of you don't want to have to spend that money, but in the same breath, you still need good football players on your team, and it's not smart just to let them walk because you don't want to pay them. You still need to field a group here, and there's a lot of turnover. But
that's my Kendall Fuller thing. Sorry,
okay,
just real quick. Cornerbacks are bad, right? Like It does not make sense to just let the only good one go. That's my problem with it. But yeah.
My man. Now, to wrap this up, last question I have for you. You know, the Trent Williams and the 49ers, they used to come out in the locker room playing with their stereo, playing music on the way to the field. So what would be your music or musical artist you'd have walking out with you in that regard?
Probably Love Sosa.
Okay.
Yeah, probably Love Sosa.
What's wrong with Chief Keef?
Chief Keef wrote that at the tender age of 16.
It depends on how I'm feeling. Like, if I'm really, really confident that we're going to, like, dominate, probably something like God's Plan. But if I need to get into that, I got to eat, yeah, probably like Love Sosa. Or Fire Squad by J. Cole. I walk out with J. Cole and listen to Fire Squad.
I'm going straight Stone Cold Steve Austin theme music.
I wrote on here specifically, you're not allowed to choose no wrestling. No wrestling is allowed.
Someone else's
Kyle, that's the whole
it's
point.
a cop. You do it every time. It's a cop out.
He's hot.
Matt,
he's a good boy.
Matt, I can't thank you enough for joining us today, brother. Go and enjoy these playoff games. Before we go here, real quick, if you just want to say, who do you have winning today?
I want the Lions and the Ravens to win desperately. Of course, I know, as you guys know, as a cursed franchise fans, shout out the Lions.
Yes, sir.
And then also shout out Ben Johnson and Mike McDonald. I'm cool waiting till after the Super Bowl. But I think it's going to be Chiefs Niners. Like, if I had to guess, just the ones that are always there.
And that's kind of how the NFL goes, Matt.
Yeah.
You're right.
They're like a bad rash. They just want to go away.
It's tough. But also, like, I love watching Patrick Mahomes play football. I know we've gotten to the point where now we all just kind of collectively hate the Chiefs. I don't mind the Taylor Swift stuff, to be honest with you. I literally, because some of my friends do, whenever Travis Kelce scores a touchdown, I just scream, "Where's Taylor?" to really like piss people off. And like Patrick Mahomes is just so good. Like I just want to enjoy every second of special that we're gonna get. Like I really think he might be the greatest of all time when it's said and done. So I just want to make sure that I'm appreciating it while I watch it.
You're absolutely right, and it's funny because like I don't really mind the whole Taylor Swift attention that's get brought onto it. I really my wife
especially
though. Every time
the white women got to succeed too. My wife, she loves my white women.
My wife,
she's all
like,
over
immediately. She's like, why do they keep showing her? I'm like, I don't care. Like
she's everywhere. Who does she think she is? Kyle's Laundry.
Right. All right, Matt. I can't thank you enough, brother. Before we get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody hasn't followed you yet and would like to, brother.
Follow me on Twitter at MV Scouting to talk the draft mostly, and then also Washington football or whatever you want to talk about too. But yeah, MV Scouting on X. My bad.
You're good.
Yeah, go X me,
my man. And Matt, be safe up there where you're at. It's not a good place where you're living at around that area.
Yeah,
make sure you keep yourself safe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
What's your
brother.
All right, man.
address?
Appreciate
All right,
it.
everybody.
Have a
We
good
just spoke with
one.
the man, Mr. Valdovinos. Always appreciate talking to him because,
I
just
love
like
his
Reed, he's
draft.
a lover of big men.
Yeah,
Where does he
And
live at?
PA, Philly.
Oh, I'm on PA, dog.
He's in Philly, dude.
Check your. Oh, ew.
Yeah,
Ew.
exactly.
Sorry for
Right
damn.
on.
God. Yeah.
All right,
Well, I
now.
mean, you say PA. I've turned
He like
myself
lives
into
in
a
the hood or
voice
something. I'm
changer,
like,
dude.
damn.
Yeah. But I want to ask you guys the question I just asked Matt about the
Surprised you didn't say
music
dreams and
entrance.
nightmares then.
You can't use pro wrestling bits or anything like that. Hall, if you were to put music on the stereo to play Walking Out of the Tunnel to the Field, what are you playing?
Probably some Lil. I'll probably play Lil Wayne, "Money on My Mind." That young gets me hype. That's my jam.
Oh, really? All right, that's
Yeah.
good. Reed, tell us why it's raining men.
I wish. Yeah, right. That or ow.
You talking about
I'm
Disturbed?
yeah.
You
Oh,
tried to.
I'm not playing that shit. Come on, dog. I'm playing either Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill, or if I'm in DC, I'm playing some Mambo sauce and I'm playing Welcome to DC. You know what I'm saying? Going out there, just get nobody knows the words, I don't think, and nobody does, but you know how it goes. You know?
Yeah, totally with it, bro. I agree with you there. I don't really know where that was going, but I would say Lil Wayne Fireman. That song always was good because you need something quick for it. But I thought it'd be funny to kind of talk about that.
Also, because you dress up as one of the village people on the weekend, and you are the fireman.
What happens between me and my wife stays between my wife and I. Okay, sir. Now,
does she know about it, Kyle? Because that's not what the Indian and the cop told me.
Right. Now, let's go on to my next question I have for you boys. I just want to look at this from a grand scheme kind of thing. Could we be doing this all wrong? Because we're all under the assumption, right, that sitting at 2, Adam Peters and company, they're going to say we need a quarterback to start this off fresh, right? But we also have to take into consideration, Hall, that this is the guy that drafted Purdy with the last pick in the 7th round to be their quarterback, right? Could we be looking at this all wrong?
I would say no. We're
Hey,
not
Cash.
looking at it wrong because technically he didn't really draft Purdy in the 7th round to be their quarterback. They actually drafted Trey Lance to be their quarterback. And it just so panned out and just so happened that Jimmy G got injured, Trey Lance got injured. They had to play Brock Purdy. And next thing you know, oh, wait, damn, Brock Purdy is like the best quarterback we have in this room right now. So I would say that although he is known for hitting on the later round picks and he's like the late round gem like finder, I would say that the plan was still supposed to be Trey Lance. They traded all those picks for him. How much he had a part in that, who knows? But he was still there when it happened. So I would say that quarterback is still probably the option. But like you said, there's always that 1% chance that they want to build the team out and drop the quarterback in at some point. But to me personally, I just think that all signs point to a quarterback.
Now, that being said, I'm not sure if you really wanted to answer that, Reed, or not. I'm not sure if you.
You can move on. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I'll
To
answer
bridge
whatever you throw
off
my
of
way,
that,
dog.
to bridge off of that, do you guys think that this is because if you're looking at this from Adam Peters' perspective, right, you could be looking at this in 2 scenarios where you're saying this is a long-term vision where we're not going to be pressing the matter of trying to get instant production and win totals immediately, right? It's more so of kind of changing the course of the way things are conducted, right? Or is it going to be something like we need something now because the rest of the division is kind of lacking, and so we need to capitalize on whatever we can, right? And that would go into like kind of trading back in the 1st round to be able to get as many picks as possible so you could put that roster together. Do you guys think because of the way the division is shaping out right now that Adam Peters and company actually might be more pressing on that switch?
I think that situation, like, obviously, I understand where people are coming from with it, and it makes a lot of sense on paper. We have so many holes on this roster. I completely get it. Same time, you don't want to expect to be picking this high every year. And also, I mean, granted, there's always players that rise every year, but next year's quarterback class isn't looking nearly as good. And you can't, when you're up this high and they have the potential of having 3 franchise quarterbacks in this draft, you got to take one if you're have uncertainty at that future. So are we looking at it wrong? Was that the question, Kyle? I don't remember what you said, to be completely honest with you. I don't really listen when you speak.
Is this possibly the best time for Washington to kind of flip the division because of what has happened in the division with losing the playoffs, kind of having Tony Pollard leave, a lot of transition going on with these football teams in our division? Should Washington be pressing the gas to try to flip the team as fast as possible, or should they be more patient?
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, you would like that as a fan. You want that, but at the same time, if you want this built consistently, if you want this to be a team that's winning regularly, unfortunately, sometimes you just got to kind of bite the bullet. And you got to build the team the right way. You got to get in these young guys. You got to get in these draft picks. You got to get them accustomed to the team. You got to get them accustomed to the NFL. You got to create chemistry in the locker room. So, unfortunately, as much as awesome as that would be, and if this was Madden right now, I'd be out there signing everybody. I'd be trading all this shit. I'd say, here we go, best team out there. Everybody's a 90 at least. But that's not the way the world goes round. You're up one day, the next you're down. There's a half an inch of water, and you think you're going to drown. That's the way that the world goes round, Kyle.
Thanks, Reed. I really appreciate that. Paul, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would say that, like Reed said, as a fan, and just as a fan of football, but definitely a fan of this team, you would definitely you would want to be like, all right, yeah, they got a quarterback, and go out there and attack free agency, attack the draft, and we could maybe like James Jeremiah was like, who could be next year's Lions, and he said, oh, it could be the Commanders because they're getting the quarterback, they're getting the new head coach. But no, I'm not saying
no, not you. I'm talking about Daniel Jim.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't know. He was saying NFC Championship, but he's just talking about going from worse to a team that's competing. But Adam Peters talked about, Josh Harris has talked about it a lot of times, building it the right way and making this a consistent winning team. And if you really think about Ron Rivera's the start of his downfall was that first season where they were kind of looking at the division oh, we can seize the moment right here and take the division and become division champs, even though it was still a team that wasn't ready to make that jump and compete for against other teams and their first place the first place
really bad
schedule the next year or whatnot. But yeah, I think that as long as they make some type of jump next year, I don't care about the win total, win numbers, whatever. As long as they're playing hard, you can see that the players are developing and the quarterback is developing. That's all I'm really worried about. So I would just say that just look at the lines. You just got to be patient.
My man. And now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Steve Lim, host of the Command This podcast, friend of this show, and many in the community. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, brother. How you doing?
What's up, brothers? How you doing? Good Sunday championship football. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
It's
and
crazy that the NFL season's already just about
we
over.
Are going to I do want to talk about these games today and all of our predictions. But before we do that, I did want to get you to answer this question I just had the guys answer, Steve. Just briefly, do you because of what's happening in the division where these teams are kind of these other teams are taking a step back, do you think Adam Peters, this team in particular, should be very adamant in forcing kind of a quick exchange, a quick transition to winning in order to take control of the division, or are you looking at more so the patient long-term view?
I think it really depends on where he goes with the quarterbacks. That's hard to answer. If he decides to go veteran, you know what I mean, then I think it's a win now. But if he drafts a guy or goes back with Sam, I think it's a slow, methodical approach to winning, despite what's going on in the division.
Yeah, my man. And now that being said, my next question I do have for the panel, all of us can answer this. Steve, you first. We have projected close to $100 million in cap space, right? And this is something that we are typically not used to. Usually we're spending that something stupid, right, in the past. But it's the first time we're probably going to be doing it in a smart way. So that being said, Steve, how should we use that money?
Well, I would say offensive line, but if you look at the offensive line, free agents coming in this season, it's not that good.
No, not at all.
It's not that good. So I would focus the free agency on shoring up the defense, and then maybe look to the draft to try to fill a lot of the offensive line needs, because the defensive talent in free agency is much better than anything offensive line related. Maybe one prospect for free agency on the line. So that would be my approach.
Yeah, because that's my big conundrum with all this, because with Adam Peters and company, they more so built a team through the draft and then supplemented through the free agency, right? And so in this aspect is they have $100 million, but what are you going to do? Because people are saying you don't want to pay Kam Curls too much, but are you going to pay some other guy from another team to be able to pay that much to bring in here? Is that really a recipe for success? And that's my whole thought process here. Sorry, Reed.
No, yeah, that, and I mean, like you talked about, like if you look at our positions of need, like obviously you can point to quarterback, that should be obviously the number one pick. Offensive line, edge rushers, we don't have edge rushers right now, but
Right.
in free agency, I know a lot of these guys are going to get tagged, but there will be some form of talent out there that you can spend some money on. Same with corner, there's going to be some talent and linebacker. There's some good linebackers out there as well. So I mean, if you want to, if you're going to spend money, I would say do it on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, and the draft just so happens this year to kind of be perfectly where it's like a really deep year for offensive line, both tackle, guard, or all three positions, and center as well. And that's just kind of where it's gonna looks like it's gonna be going. Where it's like, and you can get some good playmakers out there as well. So yeah, if they're spending money on the defensive side of the ball, anything's got to be better than whatever that was they put out on the field last year. Am I right, gang?
Yeah, you're right. One thing I'll say is, like, I've been adamant about this. Like, why wouldn't Washington flirt with the idea of franchise tagging Kam Curl? Because if you're Adam Peters and you're kind of reluctant to give Kam Curl a long-term deal, wouldn't a good idea in this situation to pay Kam Curl a 1-year deal, franchise tag him there, give him the cash that he wants? You know that he'll be happy because he just basically wants to get paid for the work that he's put in, and that he's put in a lot of work for pennies on the dollar compared to other guys in the league. And so doing that allows Peters to not have to sign long-term without seeing more of this guy, having him in the same building, and it also just bridges you 1 more year for that, and you have the space in order to do that with your cap. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, are you really going to put top dollar on Brian Burns? Are you really going to put a top dollar for Stephon Gilmore? Or are you going to pay for your good players to stay here? And that's my kind of thought process with all that.
Yeah, Cam's the dude. Like I know, my bad, Hall. I know that Kendall Fuller, obviously, I mean, it's a position. Cam is like a linchpin on this defense. He's the only person that you can really say is like, you know what I'm saying. So I'd do whatever I could to bring him back. But that's just me. I'm just a, simpleton.
Yeah, I would definitely, like you guys said, I would put more of the spend more of the money to gear toward the defense, just because the offensive line is like a deep class, and you can grow the offense together with young players, and everyone just kind of gels together and grows together. And defensive wise, like you said, we need edge rushers. There's a couple edge guys, Josh Allen. You just talked about Brian Burns.
Many are expecting that Josh Allen won't make it to free agency.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, as of right now, like, you know what I'm saying, he's heading
not for you, the audience.
Yeah. But yeah, so you got a couple guys out there. I would say maybe like, obviously there's not going to be another London Fletcher, but maybe like bringing a veteran linebacker that can kind of galvanize the middle of the field and be that like legit signal caller and that quarterback on the defense that we've been lacking for many, many years now. So, yeah, I would, like you said, defense, edge rusher, linebacker. Maybe if you want to spend on a cornerback, because we're losing Kendall Fuller, and you're going to need like a veteran, a legit steady veteran in the room. So I would definitely expect him to spend on the defense more than likely.
Yeah, and Andy Lockhart has been championing for Devin White in free agency, but he was even playing in that playoff game,
yeah,
right?
I was going to say, he's getting up there in age. He's picked up all the time.
Dude. He's so
sorry, you've never heard that word before, dude.
No, I don't even know what it means, to be completely honest with you. I just said it because it sounded right. That's what I do with 90% of the things I say. I don't know what half this shit means.
Did I do that?
It's weird, though, because like he's so talented, he's so good, and he has been very good in the NFL. But then it's just like, what's going on with him the last few years? Like, what's been happening?
We could have picked him up
early
a couple years ago. We
I remember. Yeah,
we missed the boat, I think. When you're talking about Kam Curl, Kyle, I think you also got to value, from an external, Adam Peters being objective and, not necessarily his guy with Kam Curl, but you got to look at it. Is someone like Budda Baker, if you're going to spend, $13-14 million, should I spend it on Budda Baker versus Kam Curl? So those are the discussions they have to have. Like, there's not that many other free safeties out there, or do they feel comfortable?
Antoine Winfield's out there, right?
He is, or Quan and
Derek Force.
Derek Force. Are they going to roll with those two and see? But you're right, Kyle. We're not stressed for money, so why not just pay the guy, let him be the leader of the defense, and just 1 more year, figure it out next year.
And that's my whole point about the franchise tag is it's not a long-term payment, right? You're only doing it for 1 year just to be able to give you 1 more year breathing room to say, all right, this is your approve it year. We gave you a big stack of money to see if you could prove it for a long-term stack of money, and let's see how you do with that in the new regime, new coaching staff, because there is a change there. And I feel like this is one of those situations where the franchise tag was like created for. Where these Kam Curl situations where you have a new regime coming in, they don't really know if they want to go with you long term, but if they let you walk, they're kind of like hands tied behind their back, so to speak. 'Cause I know a lot of people say Quan can do what Kam can. I'm just letting you know right now, if you're going to go in thinking that, we're in a very bad position, and you're going to be looking for somebody like Kam very, very soon. And I don't want to wait a year to do that. Let's just fix the problem now. Now, before we get into our fan questions, wrap up this episode, boys. Let's get our predictions for these games today. First one, 3 o'clock, Kansas City versus Baltimore. Steve, how do you think it's playing out?
I have Baltimore winning in this game. It's at home. I think this is a different Lamar Jackson. I think you're seeing Kansas City be exposed this year. I mean, Mahomes, baby goat quotes, but I think this is Baltimore's year, and I really, 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 really want Baltimore to win this game. And I think they will. It's going to be a nail biter, hopefully like a Buffalo, Kansas City style that we've seen last couple of years. But I think Baltimore's going to come on top.
Bold. What do you think, Hall?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a tough, like, defensive type of game. Like, two great defenses going at each other, two quarterbacks going against two great defenses on the other side of them. And I think that it's going to be like a low-scoring game. It's going to be a tough one of those kind of almost on the level of like those Pittsburgh like Ravens like kind of battles back in the day where it was like physical, running the ball, tough kind of game.
Damn.
Defensive type of games. And I think that the Ravens pull it out in a nail biter, like Steve said. But yeah, I think the Ravens go to the Super Bowl and win a close one.
Well done, sir. Because honestly, thinking of Reed in this breakdown here, what I think is going to happen in this game today is going to be a lot of sloppiness. Because if you look outside, it's about 50 degrees. It's rainy. It's wet. And when you think about those old Steelers-Ravens matchups in the mud, like obviously just that gritty kind of – that's the kind of matchup I see today. And who does that benefit in this kind of aspect? And I think it would more so benefit the Ravens, just being that they're probably one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, not just because of what Lamar can do, just because of what they do offensively. But I think we talked about this on Thursday. I think Baltimore is probably the most well-rounded team right now. If you were to compare them to San Francisco, it's not by much. But Kansas City, this is the time to beat Kansas City if you are Baltimore. Because like this is the one time where they have almost looked injured in a way, like they're limping out there as like a wounded gazelle, and you're sitting out there with your rifle as in the Ravens. Well, you got your one shot. You better land that thing in his chest to make sure he goes down, because this is your one chance to do it. And that's why I feel like with the Ravens that they will get it done. And in it being that muddy, kind of sloppy aspect of it all, I think honestly, I've seen a lot of growth of Lamar. Last week in that playoff game, seeing him sit in the pocket and just dissect the defense, dude, he really worked his tail off, and he deserves all the success he gets.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game, too, with the sloppiness in the mud. I'm a pig for that. I'm running straight for the slop. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited for that.
I'm going to save that clip.
Yeah, do it.
I'm gonna every time Daniel Kelly tweets, I'm gonna put that soundbite.
I'm a pig, baby. Feed me. Kyle cover years. I know you're a big Jackson Mahomes fan. I know that he's your favorite person in the world. You follow him on TikTok. I know that you love Jackson Mahomes. Baltimore is just I think Baltimore's on another level than everybody in the NFL right now. I mean, look what they did when they played San Francisco. Look at what they've done to some of these teams this year. Baltimore's unreal. They're hitting their stride. They've been done, hit their stride, baby. They've been going. They've been rolling. And I love Pat Mahomes. I knew Taylor Swift was trouble when she walked in. You know what I'm saying? I knew that. He's the reason for the teardrops on Kyle's guitar, because Kyle loves that beautiful queen. But yeah, man, I don't see Pat getting there this time. I got the Ravens by 100.
True.
And it sucks because I hate Ravens fans, dude. You guys have had it good. We haven't. Stop bragging.
All right, now San Francisco versus Detroit. What do you got, Reed?
Look, San Francisco, as good as they have a great roster. I love everything that they've done out there. Every once in a while, San Francisco will go out there and they'll put up a goose egg. They'll be bad sometimes. That San Francisco a few times this season has played, or maybe a couple, but they played pretty bad. The Ravens game comes to mind, as we said. And I just want to see it so bad. I want to see the Lions go. I want to see the Lions win the Super Bowl. I want to see Dan Campbell do it. I want to see the city of Detroit finally get a W after, years of being neglected by the rest of America and having the worst sports franchises ever. I want Detroit. I feel for them. I want them. I want them to rise up. So I'm doing it. I don't even care anymore. I got Detroit. In this one, baby. Give me the Lions. Baby, done it. Break out the red panties. Yeah.
Like what does that even mean? You know what I'm saying?
What, break out the red panties?
Steve, what do you think?
It means
As
celebrate, baby.
crazy as Reed sounds, he's onto something. And I got to go with the Lions as well. I think they are just peaking at the right time. They're that team that you don't want to see at the end of the season that was people were like, yeah. And I think the Lions are, I think they had that one snafu against Dallas, was it Thanksgiving, where they just kind of let you down. But after that, man,
Yeah.
they've been on an upward trend. It's a 7-point spread at home at San Francisco. I think the Lions can do it. I'm also going to go with the Lions, not just in my heart but I think they can actually do it.
Yeah,
Right.
they're going to be feasting on kneecaps out there. They're going to
They-
be fighting so many kneecaps.
They're a well built team, obviously, but I think that San Francisco defensively, this is going to be the game that they have to step their game up. But I will say this: I think that experience will have a lot to do with coordinator and play calling today, and I do think that Kyle Shanahan does have the leg up in that regard. He's lost a lot of these situations and a lot of these games. Ben Johnson, has he been put in that kind of situation before, so where a lot of weight on his shoulders? No, and we'll see how he responds today, to be honest with you. But I do think that San Francisco is going to win it, and they're going to edge it out 37-30. I think it's going to be a shootout type of game. It's going to be electric, but I think that George Kittle and company, who's really starting to hit his stride and get going, is going to be the difference maker in this game. And you can't forget about the white boy running back doing whatever he can, wherever he is on the football field, the dude can hit a touchdown. And I think Detroit defensively has gotten away with a lot, and today is going to really blow that door open.
That is pretty cool because there's not many times where you look at a white guy and be like, well, that guy's faster than all these black guys. But he goes and he somehow Christian McCaffrey always does it, you know?
Jake Funk out of University of Maryland supposed to be that guy.
He went to
Funk went to
Damascus.
Damascus.
Yeah, we talked about this
Funk went to
before. He just
Damascus,
battled
yeah.
some injuries, man. I thought he was going to be that guy.
Yeah. My bad, Hall. Will Shipley, is that his name? The kid from Clemson?
White
This
guy,
year, the
yeah.
running back, that white boy. He's interesting too.
There's another white in the first round, Cooper DeJuan.
Yeah, the
He's like
corner.
a cornerback,
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a fucking unicorn, dude. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen. That
Yeah.
hasn't happened since Jason
Hey, man.
Sehorn. He's the red panda at the DC Zoo.
The white athletes making a comeback.
Yeah, it is.
I would say that I'm with you, Kyle. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think that we're going to see Ben Johnson get his offense cooking up. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown, all the wide receivers going and whatnot. But I think that, and we've seen San Francisco, like they played their kind of their C game last week against the Packers, and they're going to come out firing on all cylinders, I think. And they're going to be Brock Purdy's going to be on point. I think the defense is going to be getting after Goff, but I do think that they're going to make enough plays to put some points up. But I just think that Detroit's defense, although they've been playing pretty decent lately, I just don't think they have enough on defense outside of Aiden Hutchinson to really stifle the 49ers offense. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to scheme a lot of guys open on that defense. And I think that, like you said, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I got San Francisco winning a probably like 30 to like 24 type game.
I'm not rooting for Ben
Face
Johnson until he takes a job here, but I will say this. I am rooting for Trent. I do want Trent to win one, man. I'm
Right,
sorry,
exactly.
man. I shouldn't be rooting for these teams to win, but as Trent, I just want Trent to be recognized for who he is. I know that's why
I mean,
he went
whoever's
there,
playing
you
is
know?
going to get smashed by the Ravens in the Super Bowl anyway. They're unreal right now. They're so good.
They haven't even started Mark Andrews. That's the crazy
know.
part about it.
So there's
And
some
they're
advanced
named
metrics
after
out
that.
there. There's some advanced metrics out there that when Mark Andrews goes down, Lamar becomes a prolific passer, and it's been
Yeah.
the best thing for his
As he
development.
focuses on Mark
He doesn't
Andrews a
have to
lot.
And he
rely on him.
spreads the
Yeah.
ball around, and he actually goes through his progression. So Mark Andrews being out has been a blessing for Lamar Jackson as a
Yeah.
passer. It's been great.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
and
the
they're
Ra-
named after that spooky bird from that spooky story from that spooky author, the Raven. I hear a raven tapping on my
Yep,
window.
now
Kyle.
let's wrap this up with our
Mhm.
fan question. This one from Discord. Thank
So
you, Deluxe.
spooky.
Steve, if it is indeed Ben Johnson, Goff is going into his last year of his contract and will want an extension. What are your thoughts on the trade? On a trade.
Well, it's going to cost a first round pick. It's going to cost a second overall pick. I don't see it going anything less. I think I'd still just choose my own adventure with a draft pick, and also you're gonna have to pay him a lot of money too. So I would say no to that and let Ben Johnson craft his team the way he wants it to be.
Yeah, like Ben Johnson could say it to me. I'm like, let's say we do, but we don't. Let's not do that. All right. Like, I love the guy, but I'm pretty sure you could replicate that with something else. You know what I mean? If you're getting paid that much, Ben, you should be able to do that, my guy. I'm not doing that now.
Yeah, I thought about that because whenever they started talking about Ben Johnson, I was looking at Jared Goff like, oh, maybe he'll bring Jared Goff with him. But like you said, and that was before like Sam Howell really like kind of like blew up, and then crashed down. And that was before we jettisoned up to the number 2 pick. I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe they want to bring a vet in to kind of get the most out of like Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, guys like that, the vets that have already been here. But I do think that, like I said, now that they've hired the new GM on a 5-year deal, the new head coach is probably going to get a 5-year deal. It would only make sense that you draft a quarterback and he'd be on the 5-year deal, more than likely, pick up the fifth-year option. 5-year deal, let all those guys kind of mold and blend together. And like you said, if you're getting paid all that money, we're supposedly going to be paying you whenever we do hire you. You can probably – I want to see you replicate what you did with Goff with a guy that we draft and develop. So I would say no to trading for Goff.
Yes. Now this next question, Reed. This one's from Tim Towner. If Ben Johnson is head coach and brings Chris Farley along as OC, do you think he goes with young blood at DC or a grizzled veteran? Isn't it Hank Farley?
Yeah, it's either Hank Farley or Frank Haley. It's Hank Farley. He's a good boy. He's a good old boy, local boy. But
I think it's Frank Haley.
It's Hank Fraley.
I don't know.
No. It's Frank. No, it is Hank Fraley. Yeah. Because it's God damn it, Hank. I don't know, dude. If you look at his coaching tree, like people who he's coached with, and usually that's where people tend to go. I don't see too many good defensive guys with him that don't already have jobs right now. Like the defensive coordinator for the Texans. I know he worked with him. He was an up and comer, but he's obviously defensive coordinator with the Texans. The one thing is, hey, highly unlikely. Maybe we say, hey, Dan Quinn, we're interviewing you again. We're going to give you an assistant head coach title. You go ahead over here and come to Washington. You just coach our defense too. Highly unlikely. Not going to happen. That's a dream though. That would be sick. Other than that, I don't know who he would pick, man. I don't know. But
that's not fair. Don't call him Hank Fraley. Yes, is the correct word. Honestly, I've thought about this. I thought that it'd be a good idea to have that grizzled veteran as your defensive coordinator to kind of offset the young offensive mind, right?
But you like the young hot twinks.
No, I'm not like as much on Reed in that regard. I think experience is vital and obviously very necessary because you have to imagine like you're trying to have a team, and when the season starts is you leaving land and traveling to sea and trying to reach the other destination at the end of the season to be able to make it to the land that you wanted to. And you have to have somebody who has traveled the seas before with you. You can't just go in blind. There's going to be things that happen that are going to probably cause problems that you need done quick, and having those types of people will be there to help you. And so in that regard, I do think a grizzled veteran is always smart to have because experience is vital in these sort of situations where there's important decision-making involved.
Yeah, I'd say maybe a guy like Mike Vrabel, if he doesn't get a job this hiring cycle, maybe you bring him in and like put the assistant head coach tag on him, make him the defensive coordinator for a year. He gets the defense right, and then he gets his name back out there.
Bill Belichick is DC, next year. Vrabel is linebackers coach, Dan Quinn is edge rusher coach.
Jack Del Rio as assistant head coach.
Bring Matt Patricia back. So Vrabel
Ben Johnson was with Matt Patricia in Detroit.
The Expendables. They're hiring the Expendables out here.
Johnson was a coach at the Titans as well. He missed Vrabel by like 3 years or so, but they were both Titan alums. So who knows?
But I would go with a grizzled, like old veteran defensive coordinator just to kind of like you said, kind of offset the younger guy that first time at the job, first time the head coach, kind of not really like show him the ropes, but kind of like give him a little bit of guidance, a little bit of advice along the way, help him out, kind of settle into the role. And or maybe you promote a guy like Anthony Weaver, even though we've been like interviewing him for like the head coaching job. Maybe you steal him from Baltimore, D-line coach. Maybe you give him an upgrade to the DC, bring him over here.
I love that idea, Hall. Good job.
Yeah, so someone like that. So I think that maybe those are a couple options.
Because that happened where they had 2 interviews with him, and they didn't have 2 interviews with anybody else, and you kind of thought, wow, more than McDonald. Why? And maybe it's because they're under the mindset of they're interviewing him for promotion to DC with their offensive mind already in place. Sorry.
No, it's just interesting. I mean, just looking at Ben Johnson like he was when he was in Miami, he was with Joe Philbin and Adam Gase too. So like if you go back and look at some of those staffs, maybe there's somebody that he came up with. I don't know. I looked at it once and I already forget the guys' names because a lot of it was so unimpressive. But I don't know. The Dolphins sucked.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. If you've made it this far, you're a frickin' champion. I can't thank you enough. If you haven't already, please go and check out Steve Lim and his podcast, the Command This Podcast. And before we get out of here, Steve, would you like to plug your social media handle and your show, brother?
You can find us at Frida's Twitter, command_this, or I'm at Steve Lim _DC. Just search for Command This Podcast. We'll be out there. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Of course, brother. I can't thank you enough. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Steve, and all of our shenanigans you got to hear. And sorry to
you got to put up with Kyle making all these
love it,
all these inappropriate jokes. I always tell Kyle after every show, I'm like, Kyle, you got to chill with these jokes, dude. You got to stop. You know?
know.
One time, Kyle, do you remember that one time when you were requesting an Uber and I just so happened to be your Uber driver, and you said you put that weird request in there and you said, I don't want an Uber XL, I don't want an Uber Comfort, I don't even want an Uber car to pick me up. What I need is Mike Reed's coattails. I'm gonna catch a ride on those. And I said, Kyle, come on. What the hell?
I was wondering where he's
going with that.
I was wondering too. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Hopefully, have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy these next few games, and make sure you guys reach out to us.
Over, man. Damn.
And let us know what's going on. All right, everybody, we love you. Washington football. Woo!
Hello.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.